Good morning, everybody. My name is Abby, and this is Lauren and Lucy. We did our data analysis project on a data set called Predict 'em All, based on the popular game Pokemon Go. Our data set was very large, containing almost 300,000 rows and 200 columns before we cleaned up the data. The majority of the data that was available in the data set was the location and settings that Pokemon were found in the game. There are a few possible uses to this data, and data that is similar to it. This could be helpful in learning about the consumer use of products like the Pokemon Go app and businesses that want to capitalize on the game by buying lures, etc. And it could also benefit the players of the game to better strategize.
So this is what's known in the Pokemon Go world as a Pokédex. It includes all of the Pokemon that are in the game. It starts off with their name on the left-hand side, followed by the Pokemon ID, so this is how the Pokemon are identified. And if you look at them, they follow their evolution. So the first Pokemon was Bulbasaur, and it evolves into Ivysaur and then Venusaur, and that continues all the way down through all of the Pokemon. It also includes the pictures with them. Next is the Max Combat Power, or CP. So this is the highest combat power that a Pokemon can be evolved to. Next is the Max Health Power, or Max HP. And lastly is the count of Pokemon. So this is the number of times that the Pokemon was sighted based on the data set that we used.
So we wanted to see if there was a correlation between day of the week and also the number of sightings. So what we pulled up, it's just taking a minute to load, is we looked at each day of the week and also the time. So if you look at the bottom, the x-axis is just 0 to 24. So around here where Golbat is right now, that says it's at 11 o'clock at night it was found. So if you just look through from Wednesday to Thursday, a common trend that we found is actually that the closer you get to the weekend, the later and later that you see the Pokemon are found. So if you follow these dots, they actually start to go later into the night. If you also follow, as I said, on Wednesday is Golbat. So if you follow him on Wednesday night, you'll find him more at 11 o'clock at night. Thursday, he moves over to about 7, but later into the weekend, he keeps going further and further. And it seems as Golbat is a bat Pokemon, he's more found at night, and so that was a common trend that we saw. And also more of the more common Pokemon such as Pidgey and also Rattata are found more during the day and also throughout the week, and it doesn't really change much.
So we also wanted to look at the different timing, locations, and settings of Pokemon sightings. The first one on the left side of the screen is a pictograph that depicts the weather and the amount of sightings. The first one being clear, where the majority of Pokemon were sighted. This isn't just because more Pokemon were out in the clear weather, but also due to the fact that more people were playing Pokemon Go while the weather was better, unlike other types of video games where people tend to do it on rainy days when the weather isn't as nice due to the interactive nature of this game. Also, to the right top corner, we looked into the sighting settings and what areas the Pokemon were more likely to be found. Which the first one was urban, and this is also due to the fact that more players are in an urban area than mid-urban or suburban.
We also wanted to look at the distance that Pokemon were to water. So the bottom right-hand corner, the pictograph shows the relation of sightings within 100-meter distance to water versus greater than 100-meter distance. So 25% of the sightings were found near water or within 100 meters. And at the pie graph at the top, it shows that you're more likely to find Pokemon of other types rather than water Pokemon because they are found in such a small area.
If you filter the graph to find just water Pokemon, you do see that in the bottom right hand corner that the distribution of Pokemon that are found within 100 meters of water is actually increases. So as Lauren had just mentioned, it was about 25% of the time for all Pokemon, and if you look at just water Pokemon, it's found about closer to 66 to two-thirds of the time, simply because water Pokemon are found more where they like to reside, and this one tactic can help Pokemon players in general just target and find what type of character they're looking for. So we also wanted to see just simply what are the top cited Pokemon. If you ever play the game, you realize how often Pidgey and Rattata pop up on you. We did this with a word with a word graph and a word cloud just to see. So the bigger the word, the more sightings there were. So Pidgey had the largest distributions of sightings and therefore is the largest word, followed by Rattata, Weedle, and also Eevee, which are some of the most common and most well-known characters in the game. We also wanted to look into the simple line distribution and find that, as Lauren had mentioned before, each Pokemon has a level of evolutions. If we look into Pidgey especially, a Pidgey is the first evolution and is found more often than any other Pokemon in the entire game. And then as you go further into his second evolution into Pidgeotto and third into Pidgeot, the likelihood of you finding one on the street just walking around becomes more and more rare. So what happens is the game wants you to find the first evolution Pokemon to then evolve them over time and gain more increased power that way, rather than just walking down the street and finding a higher level and more rare Pokemon. If we look at Eevee, which if you're familiar with the game, Eevee is a Pokemon that actually turns into 3 different future evolutions. And so with an Eevee, you can either evolve into a Vaporeon, a Jolteon, or a Flareon. And these 3 actually represent, Vaporeon is a water type Pokemon, Jolteon is a electric type, and Flareon is the fire. And so as you can see with the distribution, there were 6,000 Eevees spotted within the time of this study that was done. But also there was only 11 Vaporeons, 10 Jolteons, and 16 Flareons. And the whole point is because the game doesn't want you to walk down the street and find a high combat power Vaporeon, because simply that would be against the whole point of the nature of the game. They want you to find the lower levels and then increase and evolve throughout time, rather than just getting lucky and landing on one of the more rare Pokemon.
So this scatter plot shows the average distance that Pokemon are found within 2 stops and gyms. So the size of the bubble shows how often the Pokemon was spotted, while the color of the bubble shows the difference in the max combat power that they find. So the dark gray bubbles are a low combat power, the white ones are a mid combat power, and the red ones are a high combat power. So if you look at one in particular, like Snorlax, you'll see that the max combat power is 3,135, and there were 41 of them found in this data set. And it's usually found within 2 kilometers of a gym or within 2 kilometers of a Pokestop. So this will allow players to find where the best area is to find a certain Pokemon and where they can go to Pokemon hunt.
On the contrary, if you look at the more popular and more common Pokemon like Rattata, you can see that Rattata was found 19,600 times in this game, and on average their max combat power is only about 580. It's not very high, and simply because it's a first evolution. And also, to find these more common Pokemon, on average, you can see they were found within 1 kilometer of a Pokestop and also 1.5 kilometers of a gym. And what these stops and gyms are is a stop, actually, you can go to one and just pile up and gain more Pokeballs and more stock on different things that you need to use throughout the game. And also gyms is where you bring your Pokemon to battle, and you can also train them. So that's why in more common areas where more Pokemon players would be found, you find more Pokemon, although you find that the more rare of the Pokemon are found in areas further away from these gyms and Pokestops, because the game wants it to make it harder to find those rare Pokemon. Also, in just looking at the game, you can see that the closer to the stops, the more Pokemon are found, simply because that's where more of the people are going to be. And to look at this in like a marketing perspective, I know an ice cream place near my house actually, they posted on Facebook, they had a gym all of 50 feet from their location and also a Pokestop right nearby. And what they did was they bought, and Abby mentioned earlier, of lures. A lure, anyone can drop a lure on a Pokestop, and what it does is actually bring Pokemon closer and kind of draws them out. It's a feature of the game that allows players to sit at a spot and have Pokemon show up more often. And just looking at this in a marketing scenario, is this ice cream place actually dropped a lure and posted it on Facebook, hey guys, one of our customers earlier today found a Pikachu or another rare Pokemon. Come out and have some ice cream and see if you guys can catch him. And I don't think I've ever seen that line longer in my entire life because of this one marketing stunt. So for businesses to take advantage of the possibilities within this game would be pretty good for their bottom line.
Overall, we really enjoyed choosing and creating the visuals that would best suit what we were looking for through our data. The biggest issues that we had was with cleaning up the data and then having it work well for what we were trying to do. But after learning more about Power BI and getting used to how it worked, it became a lot easier. And we believe that the information that we got from it could be utilized in many different ways. As I said before, like if the creators of Pokemon Go wanted to learn more about consumer use, or companies who wanted to capitalize on the trend, like Lucy just mentioned. And we think that there are many different uses, and that the same would go for data sets that have related information on consumers.
Thank you for joining us with this, and we hope that you enjoy the game responsibly and make sure to look out for cars. Thanks.
Great ending.
Oh no.